What's going on again, Ball Nation? Frank, House Foreign Sports Channel. I'm actually on a re-record right now talking about Tennessee baseball. I did one just a few minutes ago and went pretty long. So I'm going to try to condense this down, but I got a little animated when I got into it. So I'm kind of feeling a little amped up right now talking Tennessee baseball. I'm going to get right into this thing. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get that out of the way here. Greatly appreciate your support. Tennessee baseball still, 2 series losses in their last 3 SEC series. That's kind of where we're at right now. But they're still 34-7, 12-6 in the conference. 24-5 at home. Losses to ETSU, 2 to A&M, 2 to Kentucky. 2 of their 3 series losses at home. 7-2 on the road. No series losses on the road. 3-0 neutral site where they won all 3 in Houston this year. What's going on with this team right now, though? And it's started to get a little rough looking the last few weeks. Even that Ole Miss, I almost felt that was fool's gold that they won that series, as they tried their best to give that one away. And, hats off to their offense for coming through. Let's dive into the problems, though. And a lot of people want to talk about the pitching. I am going to start with the pitching here. And the pitching's not been up to par recently. Doyle, the last 3 weeks, has been outstanding. He's been outstanding on it. Phillips has started to struggle. I don't think Phillips has been awful. I think what's hurt Phillips, and it's really magnified, is the stolen bases, which I'm going to get into, and I have a major beef with this one. And Coons, here's my problem with how they're using Coons. No, he's not been perfect the last few weeks. This is going to come back to defense. It's going to come back to, and, sometimes you got to deal with the umpires. I know there were some discrepancies last weekend with the umpires calling strikes. It's part of the game, unfortunately, because the umpires today are not that good. You've got to work through that. With Coons, though, he does not have the leash that the others do. And I do. If you've listened to my stuff, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, nothing aggravates me more than we can sit and watch veterans make the same mistakes over and over, play poorly or what, and these coaches will continue to let them do it. But yet you got a very talented freshman in, they make a mistake, and they're out immediately, any of the 3 sports. That's what Tony Vitello was doing with Tegan Coons right now. And again, I'm not saying he's been perfect by any means. Let the guy have a chance to work out of a jam, though. The fact you pulled him in less than 2 innings this past weekend when he'd given up 1 run, yeah, there were runners on base. See what he's got, man. Because what did it get you? What did it get you? It got you smoked. It got you smoked because the guys you brought in after him did nothing. Yeah, they got out of a jam. I mean, there was, a wild pitch right after it. And then, we saw Arvidsson come in, wild pitch. Loy come in. Loy is starting to get hit a little bit. And then we saw another Snead. Snead's ERA in SEC play is over 5. These teams are lighting him up like a Christmas tree right now. Who's to blame? I don't know, but I'm going to put some blame on Frank Anderson right now. And I love Frank Anderson. I think he's great. I think he's one of the best. I've seen it said, though, a lot of the defensive say-so goes to Frank Anderson. Well, who's the guy calling pitches if Frank Anderson's the guy lining these guys up? Where are we failing at right now in 3 phases? Our pitching is failing partly because our defense sucks and because teams are running at will on us. That's a problem to me. And that all comes back to, again, a guy I love, a guy I think is great. But we have got to figure something out. The numerous times I've watched Tennessee baseball in person, their defensive alignments in the infield kind of puzzle me. And they're analytics driven, which if you know my opinion on analytics, there's a place for them. I'm all about the exit velocity because that tells me a guy's hitting the ball hard. Launch angle is the most useless metric that there is. And all these shifts are useless. Yeah, they pay off sometimes. How many times have we seen Gavin Keelan and Andrew Fisher beat the shift this year? I mean, there's guys do it all the time. We saw Keelan this week drop a bunt down that third base side. If teams would do that on a regular basis, you would get rid of it on it. And I remember having a guy last year, Rich Chapman, tried to lay one down in the College World Series. He was just enough toward the pitcher that they got him out. And somebody tried to say, well, you need to pull that bunt, don't push it. Yeah, let's pull it right into where all the fielders are at when you're a left-hander. No, you're pushing it down that third base line. That's the whole purpose of it. The only way I could see you pulling a bunt is if you had a runner on first. They are dumb enough to play a shift. You've got a guy running. If you lay a bunt down that way, you're getting that guy on the third. How often do we see that? Not often, I wouldn't say. But again, as we get into it, our error, I'm not pulling stats up. I'm going by the naked eye of what I've watched on it. Our defense, I mean, we're switching infielders around. I think part of that's due to Keelan being out now. Keelan being back in the field last night. Is he full-time back in the field on the weekends? We figured this out, and Curley's not a shortstop. Figured it out last year, but that's kind of where they were with the shortstop. With it, Ariel Antigua's bat has kept him out. But the funny thing is, they've been playing Manny Marin more. So if you look at SEC stats, Marin has more at bats. Marin and Antigua are very similar in statistics in SEC play. And the one thing that stands out, Marin has 19 more at bats. He has 8 more strikeouts than Antigua. And Antigua's putting balls down. Their RBIs are the same. Their runs are pretty. And Marin has I think it's 5 more hits than him, but their RBIs are the same. Their production's the same. Their fielding percentages are almost identical. 926 for Antigua and 925 for Marin. I think you got to decide between those two, though. Who gives you who's your better fielding shortstop? And I think that's something to keep in mind with it as well. Where do you go with those? Because you've got 7 guys in the lineup that you're going to stick with in Inslee, Chapman, Curley, Keelan, Fisher, should be Peebles every weekend game, and then Bargo. You got to get Bargo somewhere in that lineup. So how do you line up defensively right now? And are you looking at more offensively? Are you looking, when you make a lineup, are you looking at more of who can produce the most runs, or what's my better defensive lineup? But I think part of again, it's all a chain reaction. These pitchers do their job. The defense doesn't back them up. What happens? You get 2 outs. All of a sudden, you make a good third pitch. Your defense doesn't help you, and then it sets off a chain reaction of events. Now, we'll say this. If you're a pitcher, you got to be mentally tough enough to where adversity is going to come at some point. You've got to be able to deal with it, no matter if it's a guy who's been there a couple years or if it's a freshman. And I think all these guys, they've got to be getting upset at this point. These pitchers do. And I don't think there's any – how could you not? Once or twice is one thing. When it's starting to become a habit, a trend, can't imagine these guys not getting frustrated with it. But that's something easier said than done to fix. Probably my biggest beef is when I watch Tennessee baseball the last few weeks. It looks to me like when I've coached in middle school. Teams running at will on them, and they're doing nothing about it, and they've done nothing to fix it. And I blame none of it on the catchers. I blame none of it. Now, are there times where maybe the catcher has a chance and doesn't get it? Maybe. But how many times are guys still in second and even third, and there's no throw because the pitch has been delivered so late that there's no point in even throwing it? What are we doing to help our pitchers? What are we doing to help our catchers? There's no pitch outs. It's methodical deliveries out of the windup. And if your analytics are telling you that stolen bases don't matter, You might need to go back to the drawing board on this. Again, that's why I'm not an analytics guy. You can't sit and tell me the basics of baseball don't matter, which is what analytics do. They try to tell you it's better to hit a freaking home run every day. It's better to hit a deep fly out than it is to advance a couple dudes. It's better to hit a deep fly out than it is to try a hit and run or something. Let baseball players play. Baseball was meant to be played like baseball, not like math. We're getting into too much mathematical stuff, and I am an absolutely mathematical guy because I teach math. I've taught it for 10 years now. And I'm pretty good at it, too, at the level that I teach it at. Here's the math I know. You want as close to 100% fielding as possible, and you want to put your position players in the best possible position. If you're having to have a guy run from right field to field a routine ground ball, you're not putting them in the best place possible to make a play. Our defensive alignments, they're not going to change. They've been for years now. They're going to stay the same with it. These stolen bases, there's been numerous times they've been issues because we don't we don't worry that much about the runner. This year, they're getting magnified and teams are feasting on them. We've got to fix our defense. I've always said this. Tony Vitello Tennessee teams are not the most fundamentally sound teams. To me, a lot of it goes to they're not put in the position in the field to do it. Now, they've not been this bad, though, either. Part of it maybe is there's numerous guys that their best position actually is DH. Maybe there's numerous guys who would be better in the outfield, but you can only play 3 guys in the outfield with it. I do trust this staff to fix it. These woes are happening probably at the best time they could happen. They're happening with still a ways to go. You don't want them happening at the end. But I'm going back to pitching. Here, I'm going to get real. I'm going to get really real here on this. We have seen talented pitchers leave because they're not afforded the same leash. They're not given the same innings that guys who are coming in and maybe, right here and there. I watch a guy like Snead given just so much leeway to make mistakes, and they keep him out there and keep him out there. And I'm going to compare a guy like Coons or Krenzel, though. If they're rolling, they'll keep them in. They hit a little bit of trouble, and they're pulling them out with it. It's a dual standard. It's a double standard that we're looking at. And again, if you've listened to me, no matter if it's football, baseball, or basketball, it's always infuriated me to watch veteran guys just get all the benefit of the doubt to make mistakes. But a young, talented dude, though, gets in a little bit of trouble and we're getting him out of the game. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with it. And with so much talent that Tennessee is bringing in right now, you better let these guys make mistakes, because here's the mistake you're going to make. You want to keep putting a short leash on these guys, pulling them out, not giving them a chance. What's going to happen? I can tell you exactly what's happened. They're going to be pitching or playing somewhere else next year. Is Tennessee the best place for them? Yes. But at the same time, when you're here for 2 years, due to the ages and stuff like that, as we're seeing more of that now. If a guy we know passed up the draft to come here for 2 years, you better damn sure use him. Because if you've got a short leash and will not allow him to make a mistake. Like Coons. We go back to fall. Who was all the buzz about? Tegan Coons. We go back to spring. Doyle, Coons. Our plan, though, out of the gate was Coons wasn't going to start. Coons was going to throw Friday night after Doyle, which was fine. Whatever. Break him in. He got sick. And then we didn't see him for a week and a half after that. And then we've seen him sparingly. Then we put him in the lineup. Now we start to amplify his innings. But now we've all of a sudden reined in. We've all of a sudden pulled the leash tight where any little bit of trouble, we're bringing Arvidsson in, who I don't know where he's earned his trust at this point. Loy, sure, whatever. Loy's been struggling. And then Snead as well. Now, I know Krenzel didn't throw last weekend because he was sick. They went that route. But let your freshmen play. If Coons, you're sticking with him on Sunday, you get to the postseason, he gets a little. Are we going back to the Chris Stamos plan where we're not even going to let him make a mistake without pulling? If you trust him enough to start him, let them work through a jam. It almost cost them last year with the Stamos. If you don't trust Coons enough to work through a jam, maybe you don't need to start him. And we all know he's very worthy of starting on it. Let your freshmen play. Let these guys play baseball. There's too much right now indecisiveness and moves being made. I say all this with, I love Tony Vitello and his staff. I trust they're going to get it fixed. Right now has looked like Pee Wee League baseball recently. The defense, the stolen bases, and it's just the way the pitching's been managed has really baffled me on the how some guys left in too long, some guys don't even get an opportunity to work through adversity on it. It just seems a little different this year. And we'll see. I'm curious to see how they bounce back this weekend against LSU. But I'm just telling you, some things need to change. And some of these freshmen, you're getting the most talent coming in that you've ever gotten. A lot of guys who could have been drafted last year, yet they chose the campus. You better let them play. Better let them play, or they'll be playing somewhere else next year. And you know what? I can't, as much as I can sit here and say they should stay at Tennessee, and I hope they do, your ultimate goal is to get to the major leagues. If Tennessee is not letting you progress, you got to go somewhere that will, because there's other programs putting guys in the pros as well. Let's make no bones about it. Frank, House of Orange, go Vols.